All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to follow the incredible journey of India's rivers. This isn't just about water, you know? This massive network is basically the country's circulatory system, shaping its land, its culture, and its economy in ways you can't even imagine. So, have you ever really thought about it? How does one single drop of rain, landing way up high on a mountain, end up as part of this colossal river that carves through mountains and builds entire plains? It's an absolutely epic journey, and today we're going to follow that water and uncover the amazing story of India's drainage systems. First things first, let's get a key term out of the way. When you hear geographers talk about drainage, they're not talking about what's under your kitchen sink. Nope. It's simply the word for the entire river system of a region. Think of it like all the highways, main roads, and tiny little side streets that water uses to get around. Okay, now, if we zoom out from that, we get what's called a drainage basin. The funnel analogy here is perfect. Imagine a giant invisible funnel covering a huge patch of land. Every single drop of rain that falls inside that funnel eventually gets channeled down into one single river system. Pretty cool, right? So what stops the water from one funnel spilling over into the next one? Well, that's the job of a water divide. The best way to picture it is like the peak of a sloped roof. When rain hits it, some water flows down the left side and some flows down the right. A mountain range does exactly that, but on a massive scale, splitting the water between two completely different river systems. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to build on these basics, then dive into India's two major river groups. We'll meet the titans of the north and the powerhouses of the south, and finally, we'll talk about why these rivers are so important and the dangers they're facing. All right, so with those building blocks in our back pocket, drainage, basins, and divides, let's see how they all fit together to create the grand picture of India's incredible river systems. Basically, what it boils down to is this. Every single stream, every little creek, every major river in the country belongs to a specific drainage basin, and each of these basins is separated by a water divide. When you map all of this out, you get the complete water network of India, a really complex and beautiful web of interconnected channels. Now we get to the main event. You see, India's rivers can pretty much be split into two huge groups, and it all comes down to where they begin. It's really a tale of two very different origins. And this slide just nails the difference perfectly. On one hand, you've got the Himalayan rivers. These guys are born from massive glaciers and melting snow. That means they're perennial. They have water all year long, and they carve these long, winding paths to the sea. But then, on the other hand, you have the peninsular rivers. They start on the ancient southern plateau and are mostly fed by seasonal monsoon rains. This makes them shorter, shallower, and much more dependent on the weather. Honestly, this one single difference in origin explains almost everything about them. So let's start up north, in the land of giants. The Himalayan system is dominated by three absolutely massive rivers. These aren't just rivers, they are the lifelines for the entire northern part of the subcontinent. So meet the big three, the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. The Indus is this great international connector. The Ganga, well, it has the largest river basin in India, making it the true heartland river. And the Brahmaputra? This one makes one of the most dramatic entrances of any river in the world, which we'll get to in just a second. Let's start with the Indus. As the slide says, this river basically demands cooperation. It starts its journey up in Tibet, flows west into India through the stunning landscapes of Ladakh, and then heads south through Pakistan. It's a truly shared resource, and that has some major implications. And here's the number that really tells the story: 20%. Because the river is shared, there's a treaty from 1960 that says India can use only about a fifth of the total water from the entire Indus system. That water is absolutely critical for farming in states like Punjab and Haryana. Next up, the Ganga. For hundreds of millions of people, this isn't just a river. It's sacred. It's a mother goddess, Ganga Ma. Its water is literally the foundation of life and agriculture across the massive, fertile northern plains of India. And the journey of the Ganga is just legendary. It actually starts as two separate streams, the Bhagirathi and the Alaknanda, which meet at Devprayag to officially become the Ganga. From there, it tumbles down to the plains at Haridwar, gets supercharged by huge tributaries like the Yamuna. And then, after splitting at Farakka, it joins forces with the Brahmaputra to create the world's largest delta, the magnificent Sundarbans. And that brings us to our third titan, the Brahmaputra, a river with a real identity crisis. It starts as the Tsangpo in Tibet, flowing pretty calmly. But then it takes this spectacular hairpin U-turn and crashes into India as the Dihang. It finally becomes the mighty Brahmaputra in Assam, where its sheer power creates these vast, braided channels and even the world's largest river islands.
All right, let's head south to the ancient heartland of India. The peninsular rivers are actually older than the Himalayas, believe it or not, and they have a totally different vibe.
So, the general rule down here is that the water flows east. Most of the big names, the Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, they all drain into the Bay of Bengal. But, and this is a big but, there are two major rule breakers, the Narmada and the Tapi. They're the only long rivers that actually flow west, traveling through these deep cracks in the earth called rift valleys all the way to the Arabian Sea. But even with all those rivers, there's one that stands out as the undisputed king of the peninsula just because of its sheer size and importance. And that river is the Godavari. We're talking about 1,500 kilometers long. Because it's so massive and so important to the south, it's earned this revered title, Dakshin Ganga, the Ganga of the South. It plays the same vital role in the south that the Ganga plays in the north. So we've taken this incredible tour of the country's water map. But why does any of this really matter? Well, it matters because these rivers aren't just lines on a map. They are the absolute foundation of life and livelihood in India. I mean, just look at this list. Their gifts are countless. Since the dawn of civilization, people have built their lives on the banks of these rivers. Today, they give us water for our crops, power for our cities, and routes for transport, all while supporting an incredible amount of wildlife. They are, in every single sense of the word, our lifeline.
And that brings us to the final, really critical question. All of the growing demands from our cities, our industries, our farms, we're dumping so much waste into these rivers that they just can't clean themselves anymore. These lifelines are in serious trouble. And the question we all have to ask is, what are we going to do to save them?